Hello there, good morning and welcome to News Desk. I am Emefa Akosia Adeti. Coming up this morning, Joy News research shows that the Cedi appreciation will slash Ghana's debt stock by 10% ahead of Monetary Policy Committee meeting. And as well later in the bulletin, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly continues decongestion of the city.
Yes, it's a good one. That will bring order to the place because you are too stubborn. So we need to be regulated like this.
You traders are too stubborn.
Yes.
We're live on the ground here on News Desk. We also have on our decks, and a little later we shall share a heartwarming story of third-generation chop bar operators who pledge willingness to sacrifice cheap cost of charcoal and fully migrated LPG, but with a simple tax to government and make it accessible.
Should listen to our cry. Why not? We would stop the use of charcoal due to the other health hazards it has on us.
And that will be for Climate Focus. We've got these plus business updates on our desk. Please stay for details. Always a pleasure to come your way. Now, it's day 2 of the decongestion exercise by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and its allied forces. Day 1 saw traders at Kimbu and its environs being moved from the streets to allow free flow of traffic. James Aveji has a wrap of that.
You didn't know that this place is also part of the place?
Why
are you parking to now? So you are closing for them? Will you come back later?
That's
why some of them have decided to put their wares here on the shoulder of the road. But the new instructions to them from the task force now is that even the pavement, the walkway, need to be cleared of every goods. And so she's packing her things back and closed for the day. But what do you make about the exercise entirely? Is it a good one you think can bring order to the place?
Yes, it's a good one. That will bring order to the place because you are too stubborn. So we need to be regulated like this.
You traders are too stubborn?
Yes.
Meaning you know that coming all the way to the road is a bad thing, yes, but you had no choice than to do it.
Yes, we know what's right, but sometimes we need to be forced to do what's right. So I think it's a good exercise that they are taking place. It's a good exercise.
I'm sure he's one of those ones, that's why he says so. But if they live here and do not come back, will you continue to stay where you are or you'll be compelled to come back?
Sure, we'll continue to stay where we are. We are not going to come forward again because I'm sure it's not going to be like previous days. They will be coming always and often. So I'm sure we'll abide by their rules.
For those of you who ply this route, you would agree that at this time of the day, early morning, as at 9 o'clock a.m., even cars would have to be held in traffic for minutes or hours in order to make their way into Kantamanto.
After about an hour of break from the exercise in the Central Business District, the task force headed to Circle and Kanishi to also carry out the decongestion exercise. But the key question many are raising is how long the AMA can sustain this progress.
I hope so. I hope it would. But you know, normally we start nicely, but come election time, you know, we look on as if we've not seen what is happening. Yeah, we look on because we think if we should, you know, put them off, we may lose votes. Okay. So if this can be sustained, especially into elections, then I think Ghana is getting somewhere.
A firm assurance that the sanity we have experienced today will not be a one-day wonder.
As I said, I don't give promises and I don't stand by the promises. Whatever I say, I do. So, what I'm saying is that this exercise is not an ideal wonder. We are on the streets to make sure that the roads are clear. We'll be doing this till Friday to see how the orders have been complied with.
Now, that was day one of the 3-day exercise. James Savaji has been following this exercise, and let's engage him to know what's happening on day 2. James, what's happening today?
Well, Emafa, today there is a massive demolition exercise ongoing here at Circle Neoplan Station. If you come to Circle, the Neoplan Station, just across the road at the bus stop here, these squatters have turned the back of the bus stop into a whole community on its own. And for the past 2 hours, the AMA task force, together with the Ghana Police Service as well as the National Security, are demolishing these makeshift structures here. A number of household items have been retrieved from the area, including fridges. I'll be taking you around to look at some of the items, but that is the action that has been happening for the past 2 hours or so, where the task force have been demolishing these makeshift structures. The place, as I said earlier, is a whole community on its own where people live for the past 3, 4, 5 years. And they wake up from here, take their bath, I'm told, at a public shower just close to this area, and go to work. Some of them even keep their items that they sell, they trade in here, from sachet to bottled water to soft drinks and all of that. If you see the roofing sheet wall here is a demarcation between the community here and the Audit drain, the huge drain that runs all the way to the Odona. And so that is the exact location. Just a while ago, mattresses, which some of them have been wrapped on the table here, mattresses, fridges, as well as waiting pans, headpans, and all of that have been retrieved from here. Bags of phone accessories, as well as clothing, were all retrieved from this particular place, and they have been carried to the other side. You see the mattress in front of me, a student mattress that has been wrapped as the sleeping material of one of them. There, a group of the traders or the squatters are retrieving a deep freezer from the back there, which earlier had been forced open by the AMA task force, which contained the soft drink as well as the water they were trading in to the general public. There has been a connection at the back here where they had a number of meters, some of which have been retrieved by the AMA task force, and the main switch as well. The AMA tried to trace the connection or the source of power to the place here, but they hit a deadlock because at the far end of the drain, the wires have been buried underground. And so they just had to cut the source of power there and retrieve the meters as well as the main switch and items. There is a sieve there harboring a number of the items. If you look across the road, a number of the squatters are standing by guarding their items while looking on as the security operatives continue to undertake the demolition exercise. If we can pan to the other side of the road where the squatters are currently standing by looking on as the exercise is ongoing, you see someone's pan there full of bananas. They were all retrieved from the area here and moved there. I spoke earlier with a gentleman in the baseball shirt there. I spoke with him earlier. He said his name is Nanayao. He's coming from Obuasi in the Ashanti region. He came here about 3 years ago, where he came to trade in phone accessories. His items, he's standing by his items there. The glass sieve you see there is where he displays his items in to the public and trade in. But you see him there standing hopeless, looking on while the activities are ongoing. When you come to the other side of the road here, it has the AMA bringing this waste truck where a number of the leftovers of the items have been packed into for onward disposal. And so this is the situation currently at Circle Neoplan, where the demolition exercise, tens of makeshift structures, have the young man carrying a fridge stand there. It is unclear where he is sending them to, but leftovers of the destruction is still clear here, with a number of the squatters engaging in some activity. What's ongoing? You are still on packing your things. You are still packing the things from here. Chief, you are still packing the things?
Yes.
Have you been able to salvage any of your things, take any of the things from there?
Yeah, they take my things.
What were you able to take out?
I didn't take anything unless my one shirt and my one knicker and my one sandal. My shirt, my bag, I put all my clothes inside. They take all. Me, I be hustler boy. I'm from Sunyani. Be here where I come hustle. Everybody know me at Sunyani. If you reach there, you say lion. Even small picking crowd go show you where my place. But I came here for hustle. You know, see my shirt. I wear this one like 3 months. If I go bath, then I wash. If I go, I work.
What do you sell here?
Although I be carry you here. Here they work. Because of this woman. Anytime I can help him to selling things. Whether if you know that, then you leave her for me.
Okay.
So I take him as my sister and everything. Okay. So he be him at the help.
Okay. So where will you sleep today?
Oh, here the place I will sleep there. It's difficult to. But God day, I'll get some place to sleep.
You have some friends around you go and sleep at their place?
Like my friends too, they don't get room. They sleep outside like me.
Okay. I wish you well. Let's see what happens. So the AMA sanitation officers sweeping, trying to keep the place clean while the exercise is still ongoing here at Circle Neoplan. If you watch the other direction, you see the National Security Task Force officers there trying to keep some sort of discipline and sanity at the place. The police are at the far end there, where I'm sure some more action is happening. The AMA task force here trying to keep things in check. But Mommy, can we speak to you? Are you part of the task force?
No, I'm the sub-metro director.
You are the what?
I'm the sub-metro director for Kankwe South, AMA.
Okay, just briefly, just a minute. What's your own impression of the activities that's been going on here so far?
So I will also ask you the same thing. What's your impression about the activities going on?
From the supervising side, is it going on well?
Everything is on track. Everything is on track. And as you can also attest to the surroundings, I believe you have been plying this place. Was it like this? Yeah, so there has been a difference. We want to ensure sanity prevails in our communities, in our cities. We come here, we know this place is a bus stop. Yet we come, people are engaged in all sorts of activities. If you had come earlier, you go behind this bus stop and you can see what is going on there. People are selling drugs, aphrodisiacs, engaging in narcotics at the full glare of the public. Yet nobody says anything. The assembly, through the courtesy of our Honorable Mayor, Michael Papualote, is on the grounds. He was here yesterday. He has been here every time, sanitizing and sensitizing them. they should move out of this place. This is a bus stop. The buses need to come here, and then whatever has to be done should be done. Yeah, people have taken over, and they are doing their own thing. I'm even told some allocate spaces for others.
That's what I spoke to a gentleman who deals in phone accessories earlier, and he tells me that they pay 50 Ghana cedis monthly to a gentleman who comes here to take the money. He's unsure where he comes from. Do you take taxes from them?
We don't take anything. So we are also fishing out who the person is, and we will report to our bosses. Aside that, this is not a place for them to engage in any trading activities. It's a no-no. And as we have done this, we want to sustain it. So we deploy our task force to be parading here often, so that this place will be as you see.
Okay. Lastly, before I let you go, did you retrieve any drugs or weapon or anything from the place?
I think my health, my endeavor is here to answer to that. Okay. But as of yesterday when we came, we identified so many. And even this morning, I think the one who, the local herbs, all those stuff, they were all impounded. So these are things we are discouraging from the cities, from the community, from wherever we find ourselves as city authorities.
But no arrest has been made?
No, we have not made any arrest.
Okay. Your name, please?
I'm Mercy Odoi, Mercy Wae Odoi. Okay. I'm the Sub-Metro Director for Kankwe South.
Okay, thank you. I spoke with Deho earlier, and I spoke with a Sub-Metro chairman as well. I'll come back to you to have a discussion with you. But that's the information we are picking. The intelligence is that the people here, some of them deal in drugs as well as other illicit items here. The reason why they have decided to come and break down the structures here and clear all the people away. For those of them waiting in the middle of the road, under the bridge, the indication we get is that right after this place is taken care of, they would make sure they also leave that side of the road, as well as those living at the other side of the road as well, getting into the Neoplan station. The activity they've also been telling us, the authority have also been telling us, is that they will take it to the rail lines themselves, where other makeshift structures are housing tens of squatters in the heart of Circle here in Accra. So MFA, for the past 2-3 hours, this is what has been happening as part of the demolition exercise ongoing here in Accra.
Well, James, let me know, it is almost as if the people living there are quite surprised, or they were not prepared for the demolition. Do you think that they had first-hand information, or they're only acting surprised?
They do not have any first-hand information. That is what about 4 or 5 of them I've been speaking to told me, that they didn't have any forewarning about what will happen here today. In fact, the Accra mayor himself has been here today in the afternoon at about 1 p.m. We were all here where he interacted with the traders here and advised them to keep their trading off the main road, but can occupy the pavement. Even on the pavement, they need to, he asked them to create walking space for commuters or pedestrians. And so that's the warning he gave them yesterday. There was no mention of demolition exercise. But from what we've been hearing from the Sub-Metro Director who just spoke to us, the indication is that their intelligence speak that there is the dealing in some illicit drugs and all of that, for which reason they have come to carry out the activity. As to whether it is planned, but they decided to keep it under the radar and undertake this as a swift intelligence operation, I cannot confirm, but they have not been informed earlier before the exercise this morning. MFA.
James, I know that you're following this exercise and you bring us more updates a bit later in a midday bulletin. Thank you. But back in the studio here, here's what I have to tell you so you get prepared with your dollar or cedi. Now, Ghana's public debt stock could see a significant decline of about 10% due to the rapid appreciation of the cedi. According to fresh estimates by Joy News Research, Since the beginning of 2025, the Ghana cedi has surged in value, gaining approximately 21.5% against the US dollar, making it the fastest appreciation currency globally since April 2025, according to Bloomberg. Now, analyst by Joy News Research shows this rally is poised to ease the country's external debt burden, resulting in a 10% reduction in the current 726.7 billion debt burden. Well, we'll bring you a little report we put together, but in studio now is our favorite person, Isaac Kofi Ajay, who brings it all to the simplicity for you and I, so you know what to do with your cedi or your dollar. Kofi, well, you give us an overview first of all, but by the time we'll be done with this, we'll know what it really means to have the public debt stock, what that is. Yeah. People should understand it, and what the overall of this conversation would have on Ghana's GDP. Let's start.
Well, I think we should start from where the cedi has actually fared since the beginning of the year. And if you look at the real value in terms of real appreciation against the greenback of the US, we can talk about some 17.6% in terms of appreciation. This is the highest any government has done in a span of 4 months or in a span of, let's say, 3 months. So this is the highest we've seen.
The current one is 17.6.
17.6.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. 17.6 is the highest since we did redenomination in terms of the first terms or the first years of every government. And what is this doing? This has actually been the trend so far, how the cedi has actually traveled since the beginning of the year. You can see the 1st of January, this is 2024. We were doing somewhere around $1 is to 11 cedis, 80 pesos. That was last year, January. But when we began this year, just look at it where we were at the beginning of the year after the election. We were around $1 is to 14 cedis, 70 pesos. And I'm sure by now, where your eyes are currently looking at is a sharp decline. You are seeing here how far the dollar has fallen against the cedi. And that's what we are seeing. Sharp from close to 15 cedis, 50 pesos. Now we are talking about 12 cedis, 10 pesos. And this morning we understand that the Bank of Ghana in their interbank data that they just put out, quoting 12 cedis, 12.09 cedis. And this also has been actually affirmed by Bloomberg, who also quoting 12 cedis, 10 pesos. And we are currently monitoring what is going on. But this is not something that's happening in isolation. It's as a result of several factors, and it's having impact on one thing that has been the bane on the Ghanaian economy, which is the debt situation of the country. And remember that we went to the IMF program. We could not get a fresh program. We had to do debt restructuring because our debt levels were not sustainable. And according to the IMF, we're doing more than 90%. World Bank was quoting 102% of our GDP. But the picture is changing now because of how the cedi has rallied against the dollar. Now, so we start looking at the debt stock.
Right.
This has been how much the country has been owing. We started tracking this from January of 2024 to December. This is the latest updates we have from the Bank of Ghana. Of course, the president has been updated, but we take the data from the institution responsible for quoting some of these things. The Bank of Ghana says, as of the end of 2024, the debt situation of the country was close to 730 billion Ghana cedis. This is the situation of the country. And if you look at it, when the cedi started gaining value, what you could see, and when we started the IMF program, started getting some inflows, you could see the cedi or the dollar, how do you call it, the debt burden of the country actually coming down.
Why?
Because there is an external component of the debt stock.
Which is usually pegged in dollar.
Absolutely. So this line will tell you that story. So this is the country's debt stock in dollars. What you can see is that when you quote it in dollars, it's actually very uniform and stable. But when you begin to do the math and estimation in cedis, what you see is fluctuation, especially in moments where the health of the cedi is either good or bad. So the external component, which currently is around $28.3 billion, is what's actually influencing this. And when we were doing the estimation, that was the component that we were looking at, which is currently more than 100 billion Ghana cedis. And we are saying that if the cedi is currently around 12 cedis, 10 pesos, then that could drop the country's debt stock by some 10%. And if you do the nominal calculation, we are looking at some 74.6 billion Ghana cedis. So roughly 75 billion Ghana cedis being the savings we've done as a result of the Cedi appreciation. Now, this takes me back to 2022 November, when the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta was reading the 2020 budget. He said we had lost, or we had added, a weight of 93 billion Ghana cedis to our debt stock. Why? Because of depreciation in 2022. So this year, the story is different. The narrative has changed. Why? Because it's a story of appreciation, and that's doing some sort of good to the health, not just the Cedi, but also the current debt stock of the country.
Interesting. So, first of all, I know you speak a lot of data. This gentleman speaks too much data, so we're not confused. First, tell us, what is the public debt? What does that mean for what, as a country, this is what we owe? Why? What do we owe? I mean,
we fund most of our projects with debt, right? So remember the Eurobond story and how we get money to fund our budget. The truth is that usually when we do our budget, our expenditure is more than our revenue. So what we do is that the difference or the deficit, we fund it with debt. Where it's either we borrow from the domestic space or from the external space. And that's what we call the country's debt, or how much we are owing as a country. And sometimes if you have to do the recalculation, sometimes we even add debts from Cocoa Board and what have you. But in terms of the total debt burden as a country, if we were to be an individual, how much are we owing? Is that near 730 billion Ghana cedis that we are talking about? And we pay some of this debt, it fluctuates as some of the economic indicators changes. So if you want to understand the debt stock, it's how much Ghana owes. In simple terms. So
you would say that if the dollar remains at a little over 12 cedi today, we shall be reducing that stock, this debt that you're just teaching us, by 10%, which amounts to 74, a little over 74 billion.
So let's say slightly 75 billion cedis.
Okay. Now, let's go to why. We're not practicing some sorcery or occultism here, right? Why has the Cedi really appreciated strongly in the early months of 2020?
Well, the argument has been that, look, the US dollar is falling on the global market, but if you don't get your fundamentals right in the domestic space, the US dollar could be falling, but you could be falling too as well. So what has happened is that when we come to the domestic factors currently pushing the Cedi, of course, the US dollar falling on the global market has been the enabling environment for all of this to continue, and we see the magnitude of appreciation. I have always said that the true value of the dollar to the Cedi is around 9 cedis, 50 pesos, right? And so and other people quote higher figures. But what we saw in 2022 was that artificial depreciation of the Cedi, because we were using our reserve to shore up the dollar and all of that. Then we saw artificial appreciation, but this time around, something different is happening in the domestic space, where a commodity like cocoa, which has been the backbone of the Ghanaian economy, we weren't getting so much inflows from cocoa because, one, we're doing forward sales, two, so much smuggling, and three, the fact that, we're in galamsey activities, right? But this year, the story is different. In the first 2 months of 2024, we've been able to get more than $800 million from cocoa exports. Has never happened before. People speak about gold exports. Of course, I have my own analysis on that, where I always say that if you are seeing gold exports going up, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything comes in the country. There's a portion that's surrendered to the Bank of Ghana. And in fact, the more the export goes up, the more Bank of Ghana's amount also goes up, so they get more to support the Cedi. Okay. So in simple terms, it's a demand and supply situation where Bank of Ghana has more dollars now to actually fund the current demand that we are having. Why? Because there's another factor, remittances, where currently is one of the highest in terms of exchange rate or let's say forex earners for the country. Last year, we got about $6.6 billion from remittances. And the problem was that there were loopholes where certain structures weren't allowing those forex to come into the country. But the intelligence we are getting is that this current governor has been heavy on that, trying to close the loophole. So now you have the money coming into the Bank of Ghana's account directly, which means more dollars for the Bank of Ghana to actually give out to people. So demand and supply situation. And when we go on the fiscal side, we understand that the government is no longer spending as high as they used to be, or not borrowing as high as they used to. Now, if you look at the 91-day Treasury bill, what you see is that the rate has even come down below 17%, which means government is getting money to fund other things, but the cost of that capital has been low. All of this affecting the good health of the city we are seeing currently.
You have just said demand and supply, and quickly my mind just went to equilibrium.
Yeah,
like at that
absolutely,
point.
yeah.
And so this will mean that will it have, or I should be inquiring from you that will it have any impact after all on the total GDP of this country?
Absolutely, it does will have an impact. Now the question is, if government is not spending, then it's going to have an impact on your GDP, because the big G is important in that calculation, right? Also, if people are not, if liquidity is actually constrained in the economy and people are not spending because they are not, liquidity in the system, that's going to affect, the GDP of the country. So people are estimating that because of the current appreciation we are seeing in the city, it could slow the rate of growth in the country because, one, the government is trying to be very cautious, not spending. Bank of Ghana is also tightening up somewhere, which means that liquidity is not available for people to spend. And that's how we calculate GDP, spending, right? So all of these things will not happen. So that could slow the pace at which you grow. And already we've seen estimates from Fitch, from World Bank and all of those, quoting some around somewhere 4%, 3%, 3.5%. But we understand and we know that there were years where there were low projections, but the Ghanaian economy actually did miracles and, grew more than expected.
So, Kofi, if our current strategies, which we can see obviously, cocoa, gold board,
you speak of gold board.
I mean, yeah, maybe. You never know. And if we maintain it and yet the external factors hit, how much can it hit the country? If the external factors hit so much that the dollar may have to still go up a bit, will it really still hit us so much?
Well, let's go back to Baumia, who said that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. So if government is able to get the fundamentals right, no matter how strong the external factors may be, it may have an impact, but the magnitude of the impact will not be that, high as compared to what we experienced in 2022. If you're still able to close the loopholes in the remittance space and you're getting more inflows from remittances, although Donald Trump wants to tax what is coming from the US, if you are still able to put in place gold board and now you're getting more from your gold exports, if you put something in place and people are no more importing, in terms of food imports and all of that, something can happen to the US market or on a global scale, but the magnitude could be low. And we are projecting that if the current, pace at which the city is rallying against the dollar should continue, we will be achieving the IMF target of debt to GDP ratio of somewhere around 56%, because currently the city is in a very good position for us to reach that target. And we may even reach that target before the IMF program ends next year. That's our projection.
Because you have introduced the IMF, it just begs my mind, has it not, this IMF program entirely, it's not contributed to this Cedi appreciation? It has.
Because what that does is that it gives investors confidence, right? There's something that people keep forgetting, that no country spends their international reserve unless you're in a difficult position, right? So if your international reserves are actually increasing, there's a new government in town, what happens is that there's confidence. People are bringing their forex from other places to come and trade in the country. Supply of dollars or supply of forex becomes available. So what is happening is that the IMF program has been that bedrock to build the confidence, because we were at a point where our reserves could not even afford us 1 month of import cover. It was the same IMF that gave us balance of payment support until we got here. So it will be disingenuous for anybody to say that, look, the IMF program hasn't done anything, but solely because of the fact that we have a new government. The IMF has been the headmaster of this kind of goodwill we are seeing in the economy. And we are praying that maybe revisions that maybe the government wants to do will not affect the current state of the IMF program. But many have said that, look, allow the IMF program to end in peace and enjoy the bounties that comes with. But our projection is that we could reach the debt to GDP ratio in the IMF program, even before the program ends.
Quickly, before you go, should I keep my dollar or not?
It's national television. I actually don't want to. Maybe we can discuss that.
But what about the person watching now? What shall I do? Shall I buy dollar? Shall I hold my dollar? What should I do?
But I mean, it's value. Yeah, I mean, it's value. You are looking for value for your money. If you buy dollars right now, it goes to 11 cedis. You've lost. But there are other alternatives. The Bank of Ghana is providing the gold coin, which we've seen the data is performing well. So maybe you can look at the gold coin.
I just got confused to give you some free consultation. Kofi, thank you. Always a pleasure doing this with you. But stay with me. You're watching a News Desk. Go for a quick one. Business up next, please say.
Welcome back to Business here on Joy News today. My name is Winston Taki, and now to our first business story. Poor remuneration and non-implementation of audit reports are crumbling the works of internal auditors at various public institutions. According to the Ashanti Regional Chapter of the Internal Auditors Association, some public institutions fail to act on recommendations contained in reports, adversely impacting service delivery. The worrying situation is presenting dire consequences to the performance of public institutions and also causing a significant attrition of auditors.
Auditors are mandated by law to assess and evaluate an organization's internal controls, risk management practices, and financial processes to ensure compliance with regulations, identify areas for improvement, and enhance operational efficiency and effectiveness. Some auditors in the public sector are heavily challenged in the discharge of these duties, impacting their effectiveness. Chairperson of the Institute of Internal Audit in the Ashanti region, Edward Ekuokon, describes how auditors are saddled with the challenge of not seeing their works bring about the needed change.
Internal auditors in the Ashanti region have a lot of challenges. A few of them I can say it here. Our challenge with our staffing. When you go to a few big office, you see only one internal auditor in that office. They're doing everything in the organization. I can say that the internal audit is the owner of every institution, because he oversees everything in the organization. And our other challenges is our regulations. Few of them have required remuneration to see how they can survive in the organization. So in this case, some of them have moved from internal audit to other organizations in the sector, to other finance, procurement, and others. Though they are internal auditors, but moved to other sectors.
A member of the Council of the Institute of Auditors in Ghana, Elizabeth Kwating-Tay, highlighted the impact of the existential challenges on the performance of institutions, but assured of measures to have the auditors work effectively.
So some of the challenges that they were facing was that they don't have the support at the top. So they will write all the audit reports with all the recommendations, but nothing is being done. And even when you discuss with the process owner, they will say that, oh, you write all that you can. Or it's not going anywhere. So the challenge, what that means is that the tone at the top is not really supporting the work of the internal audit. And for the work we do, if you don't get the support at the board level and even senior management level, we can write all the reports we can. It will only gather dust. So the recommendation is that they need to engage the board and even senior managers for them to know the support they need to make their work a bit easier. And this support is even mandated by our new standards. We had a new standard that was rolled out on the 9th of January 2025. And the domain 3 specifically indicates that the audit committee, the head of audit must engage the board and even senior managers on the support they need.
The Internal Audit Month is celebrated in May, raising awareness on the mandates and services of auditors in various institutions. The group is certain with consistent advocacy, their works will be appreciated with necessary measures in place to support their duties. Kolewura Al-Hassan is the director of the Audit Service at the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly.
In fact, it's really beneficial to internal auditors because a lot of people didn't know the existence of internal audit. But for now, as we move along, we create the awareness. People are now interested in finding out who are internal auditors, what are they doing, and we explain to them. So it's really beneficial to us as internal auditors. In terms of capacity building, because people must know. So when you create the awareness and people are aware, they know what you are doing, and they can support you in whatever, because most of our institutions didn't even know our existence. Now that they know we are existing, whatever you put to them with regards to the work of internal audit, they are happy and they are ready to support you.
Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Moving on, the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama has assured that the outlook for the Ghana cedi remains largely favorable. This, he says, is based on measures that the Bank of Ghana is currently implementing. The governor gave this assurance at the opening of the monetary policy meeting at the Bank of Ghana today. We'll bring you that story in our subsequent bulletin. Now, the Chartered Institute of Accountants Ghana, ICAG, has placed its members on high alert over infractions in the implementation of financial management systems in both the public and private sector. According to ICAG, this has become critical due to the involvement of accountants and some members in various financial transactions in their organizations. There is more in this report.
The Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, ICAG, has held its first graduation and admission ceremony of the year, inducting new members and associates into the institute. The event marked the culmination of a rigorous process involving various disciplines and certifications that candidates had to complete successfully. As part of its ongoing efforts to promote accountability and transparency within the financial sector, the institute is actively advocating for the implementation of the recently enacted Financial Management Act across all sectors of the economy. In an interview, President Augustine Addo encouraged accountants to take an active role in identifying and addressing loopholes within organizations to ensure integrity in financial transactions.
There is no financial disbursement or commitment that will not involve an accountant. Either it is an accountant who initiates the financial process, the accountant who would monitor it, the accountant who will pay, or the accountant who will audit. So our exhortation to our members is that once they take out the membership of the accountancy profession, they are going to encounter these fraudulent practices, this financial indiscipline at their workplaces. They should be very much alert. And where they encounter this, they should not compromise. They should sweep them out of their hideouts.
Mr. Addo also revealed that the institute has taken disciplinary action against some members this year for various professional misconducts, reinforcing its commitment to upholding ethical standards.
So far, we've been able to implement some of these sanctions. And just about, I think February this year, we even published a situation where one member was fined, another was sanctioned as not being a member again, and another firm was also sanctioned by means of penalty and some out of service for some period.
This event also marks the 44th graduation ceremony held by the institute since its establishment.
That's all for business here on Newsdesk. My name is Winston Taki. Back to Emefa for the rest of the bulletin. Emefa.
Thank you so much, Winston. But we shall go for a quick break. When we come back, I just might have some more stories for you. Please stay. Welcome back to News Desk. Now, before we wrap in today's Climate Focus series, a third-generation commercial user of charcoal has one of Accra's biggest eateries has shared a heartwarming story of his willingness to abandon charcoal and fully migrate to liquefied petroleum gas, what you know as LPG. This follows rising health and environmental concerns over the continued use of charcoal and firewood for cooking. For these two sisters, a government committed to making LPG accessible is all they need to transition. James Savaji has more.
The German Agency for International Cooperation, GIZ, in 2023 revealed in a research that firewood and charcoal contribute at least 39% of source of energy for cooking in Ghana. This means about 100,000 football fields of trees are cleared every year for firewood and charcoal. To find out more, I visit a chopper here in Accra to hear their story. I meet Nanama and her sister Sandra, a third-generation owners of the popular heavy-do chopper.
49 years ago, we started with firewood. That's what we started with. And then we moved from firewood to charcoal. And the reason was firewood produces a lot of heat and then a lot of smoke. So we moved to charcoal. So when we moved to charcoal and then technology also came in and technology was growing, we moved from charcoal to gas.
So why did they switch back to charcoal after finding comfort in LPG?
I think 10 years back we had some gas shortage in Ghana. So we bought 2 bags of charcoal and we used it to cook. So after cooking we realized that the cost of using the charcoal was a bit okay than the gas. So that was when we introduced the use of the gas and the charcoal at the same time. Yes. We have 12.5 kg, which cost us 260 cedis. And with this, it takes us 2 days. So every 2 days, we need to fill it and use.
But you use it for what?
For just warming the food. We don't use it to cook, to just keep the soup warm. And with this, it costs 500 and something, so I'm not that sure. And it takes us for a week just to warm the food. But if you are to use this to cook the pot of cassava, you can do 3 to 4 on an average, depending on how soft or how hard the cassava is.
It has emerged, however, that this is not only posing threats to the environment, but to the human health as well. Speaking at a National Clean Cooking Policy Framework workshop in Accra, in March 2025, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority in charge of technical, Dr. Sheila Addo, revealed that the charcoal and firewood usage kills at least 17,000 Ghanaians every year.
The IEA estimates that this figure at 3.7 million annually, with women and children most at risk, people who are usually exposed to health challenges. In Ghana, it is projected that unclean cooking methods claim about 17,000 lives annually, including 2,000 children.
For now, Nanama, on behalf of her sister, has pledged willingness to go back to operate fully on LPG regardless the cost, but on condition that government will revamp the cylinder recirculation model to make access more convenient.
At least you are ready to sacrifice the use of the charcoal and go for the gas if it will give you the full convenience.
Oh, yes, if government should listen to our cry, why not? We would stop the use of charcoal due to the other health hazards it has on us. We'll stop using it and then we'll fall on the gas to produce our food.
The ball is now in government court to take a decisive policy decision to win the hearts of Ghanaians to embrace LPG, to protect the environment against climate change. James Savage's report for Joy News.
That will be all for News Desk today with me, Emefa Akosua-Adeti. I shall bring you more news at 12. Before that, please log on to myjoyonline.com for more stories. Thank you for watching.